UFC pay-per-view week is upon us, so that means it's time to check in with our guy, UFC lightweight contender, the Olympian Mark O. Madsen, undefeated lightweight contender. I should add. Mark, what's up? How's things going in Arizona?
Things are great. Hey, and remember, 3-time Olympian. So things are great down here. I'm enjoying the weather. There's no summertime. I'm taking care of business, taking care of practice.
Yeah, Mark's ready to get into that octagon. All right, so UFC 278 going down here Saturday night, Mark. Let's get right into this, and let's start things off with the welterweight title fight. We have Kamaru Usman coming in as a pretty big favorite, minus 385, taking on Leon Edwards, coming back as a plus 280 underdog. So this is a rematch. These guys fought back in December 2015. Usman won a decision, 6 takedowns. That landed him by about 22 significant strikes. Edwards hasn't lost since. Now, Usman hasn't lost in the UFC at all. So a couple questions for you here. So most people have Usman number 1 pound for pound. Maybe you can make a little bit of an argument about Volkanovski. So do you agree that Usman is the number 1 pound for pound guy in the world right now? And does Edwards have a chance in this fight?
In my book, Kamaru Usman is the pound for pound number 1 in the world. I mean, and I'm going with most people on this one. I believe Kamaru Usman is going to get the job done. I mean, he is coming off an injury, a hand injury. So one thing we know about MMA, it's never static. So it's all about the preparation. It's how prepared you are when you step up into the octagon. He is fighting a skilled striker, probably one of the best strikers in the division in Edwards. And we know he's been working on his takedowns a lot, his grappling, his wrestling. But in my mind, I think Kamaru Usman is just too tough to prepare for, because Edwards is not going to find a guy with the skills Usman is possessing anywhere in the world. So I'm going with Kamaru Usman.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I'm going to go with Usman, and I'm actually going to take him to win by KO/TKO at the time of this recording. Odds for that plus 260. I was surprised to see the number that high. So that's how he's won 3 of his last 5 fights. Of course, most notably the violent knockout of Jorge Masvidal. He's the only guy in the UFC ever to knock out Masvidal. Absolutely shut his lights out. Now, for Edwards here, I saw a pretty big red flag in that fight with Nate Diaz. It was pretty concerning that he got absolutely rocked in the 5th round. So if Nate Diaz can wobble him like that, imagine what Usman will do if he connects. So yeah, I'm going to take Usman. I'll take the prop there, TKO/KO. Okay, moving on to the co-main event here. Pretty interesting fight. Middleweight fight here. We have Luke Rockhold coming off a 3-year layoff. He's a pretty big underdog, plus 230, taking on Paulo Costa, minus 300. Now, props to Rockhold for taking the fight, but I think this is a really bad matchup for him. You're going to hear a lot of people criticizing his chin coming into this fight, but I actually think it's a combination of bad defense and maybe a bad chin. He's putting himself in a pretty rough spot for his opponents to land very high-quality strikes directly with his chin. He's been on the wrong end of some really ugly knockouts. So I'm going to take Costa to win by KO. Costa, this is a guy that lands an insane 6.85 significant strikes per minute. Very violent, very aggressive over the course of 15 minutes. I think he will find his spot. So, Mark, how do you think the fight goes? And 3-year layoff here for Rockhold. Do you think there's going to be a little bit of ring rust for him?
Joe, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, ring rust is a real thing. And coming off a long layoff like Rockhold is, fighting a guy like Costa, I mean, there's a serious risk of getting another broken jaw here. I mean, this could be a career-ending fight for Rockhold. And, I'm with you, Joe. I'm going with Paulo Costa on this one. I think he's going to demolish him. I think we're going to see a TKO even in the 1st round. So, man, we're in for a fight card.
Okay, so we're on the same page here with the first 2 picks here. So we have a fight here, a little bit closer odds. We're dropping down to the 135-pound weight class. Jose Aldo, a small underdog, even money, taking on Dvalishvili. I'm sure I absolutely butchered that, but I'm taking Aldo here in this fight. You take a look at the losses that Aldo has in his career, and they primarily come against the best of the absolute best. He lost to Prime McGregor, of course, Holloway, Volkanovski, Jan, and Aldo has tremendous takedown defense, 90% in his UFC career. He's been in there with a lot of great wrestlers. He might have a decent size advantage in this one. Mark, how do you see this one going?
I am actually going with Merab, and let me see if I can get it. Dvalishvili. I even wrestled a lot of Georgians, so I should be able to get all the names. But
better than me.
I am going with the Jordan on this one, and I believe his wrestling is going to prove too much for Aldo. He might get him down. He might not be able to hold him down, but I think the pace Merab is putting in his fights is going to prove too much for Aldo, who's also cutting a lot of weight, coming down to 145. Keep in mind, they're fighting in Utah, so this is high altitude. Gas tank is going to be a big, big issue in that altitude. And I know Aldo has amazing, let's call it world-class takedown defense, but I think at the end of the day, what we will see is the gas tank that's going to determine this fight. So I'm going with Merab. I'm going with the wrestler on this one.
All right, Mark, so let's take a look at a fight in your weight class, 155. We have Jared Gordon taking on Leonardo Santos. So how do you think this fight plays out, and how do you think you would fare against either of these guys?
I think Jared Gordon is going to take this one. Santos had a close fight with Clay Guida, or maybe not that close. Clay Guida is a guy I fought, and Clay Guida just ran him over in the second period. I think Jared Gordon is going to get the win in this one. When it comes to me personally, I would love to fight both of them. I would even offer to fight both of them in the same night. I do believe I can take both of the guy out in the same night. And Jared Gordon has actually been on my radar, but looking at their fight records, I see a guy that has beaten both of them. Grant Dawson is actually has been fighting both of them, so maybe skipping these two fighters and going directly to Grant Dawson would be a great way to go here.
So, Mark, we're going to end it on this. I told a couple of people that I was doing this interview with you, and they wanted me to ask you about a pretty big prospect here, Bo Nickel, Dana White Contender Series. He picked up a big win last week, and it looks like they're going to bring him along slowly. They tend to do this with a lot of these big prospects. You've seen it with like Sean O'Malley, for example. So what type of potential do you think this guy has?
I think Bo Nickel has the potential of becoming a champion. I mean, he's an absolutely amazing wrestler. The way he's transitioned into MMA, his performance on the Contender Series was just flawless. I mean, it was so flawless that Dana White actually chose to keep it on the Contender Series to have some great action. I think we can expect great things from Bo Nickel in the future. Now, let me say this. When it comes to the best wrestler in the division in the UFC, I don't know about that. Could be he's the best folk style, best freestyle wrestler. I don't know, but even as a lightweight, I would Greco-Roman wrestle him any day of the week. But he's a great fighter, and we can expect great things coming from him.
Absolutely. Merck would fight anyone on the roster any day of the week, right? So, Merck, thank you again for joining us. We'll leave it at that. Hopefully next time we're talking to you, you got a fight lined up. But thank you to everyone for watching this video, and make sure you keep it locked on VegasInsider.com for all your UFC betting needs. Yeah.